Medieval India, page number 146, chapter number 12. Contribution of Sher Shah. The Sur Empire may be considered in many ways as a continuation and culmination of the Delhi Sultanate. The advent of the Babur and Humayun being in the nature of an interregnum. Amongst the foremost contributions of Sher Shah was his re-establishment of law and order across the length and breadth of his empire. He dealt sternly with robbers and dacoits and with zamindars who refused to pay land revenue or disobeyed the orders of the government. We are told by Abbas Khan Sarwani, the historian of Sher Shah, that the zamindars were so cowed that none of them dared to raise the banner of rebellion against him or to molest the travellers passing through their territories. Sher Shah paid great attention to the fostering of trade and commerce, and improvement of communications in his kingdom. Sher Shah restored the old imperial road called the Grand Trunk Road from the river Indus to the west to Sonargaon in Bengal. He also built a road from Agra to Jodhpur and Chittor, evidently linking up with the road to Gujarat seaports. He built a third road from Lahore to Multan. Multan was at that time the staging point for caravans going from West and Central Asia. For the convenience of travellers, Sher Shah built a sarai at a distance of every 2 kos, about 8 kilometers, on these roads. The sarai was a fortified lodging or inn where travellers could pass the night and also keep their goods safe custody. Separate lodgings for Hindus and Muslims were provided in these sarais. Brahmins were appointed for providing bed and food to the Hindu travellers and the grain for their horses. Abbas Khan says it was a rule in these sarais that whoever entered them received provision suitable to his rank and food and litter for his cattle from government. Efforts were made to settle villages around the sarais and land was set apart in these villages for expenses of the sarais. Every sarai had several watchmen under the control of Shana, custodian. We are told that Sher Shah built 1700 sarais in all. Some of these are still existing, which shows how strong they were. His roads and sarais have been called the arteries of the empire. They helped in quickening trade and commerce in the country. Many of the sarais developed into market towns, kasbahs, to which peasants flocked to sell their produce. The sarais were also used as the stages for the new service or dak chowki. The organization of these dak chowkis had been described in an earlier chapter. By the means of these, Sher Shah kept himself informed of the development of his vast empire. Sher Shah also introduced other forms to promote the growth of trade and commerce. In his entire empire, goods paid customs duty only at 2 places. Goods produced in Bengal or imported from outside paid custom duties at the border of Bengal and Bihar at Sikri Gali, and goods coming from the West and Central Asia paid custom duty at the Indus. No one was allowed to levy customs at the roads, ferries or towns anywhere else. The duty was paid a second time at the time of sale. Sher Shah directed his governors and amils to compel the people to treat merchants and travellers well in every way, and not to harm them at all. If a merchant died, they were not to seize his goods as if they were unowned. Sher Shah enjoined upon them a dictum of Sheikh Nizami. If a merchant should die in your country, it is perfidy to lay lands on his property. Sher Shah made the local village headmen, mukaddams and zamindars responsible for any loss that the merchant suffered on the roads. If the goods were stolen, the mukaddams and the zamindars had to produce them, or to point out the haunts of the thieves or highway robbers, failing which they had to undergo the punishment meant for thieves and robbers. The same law was applied in the case of murders on the roads. It was barbarous law to make the innocent responsible for the wicked, but it seems to have been effective. In a picturesque language of Abbas Sarwani, a decrepit old woman might place a basket full of gold ornaments on her head and go on a journey, and no thief or robber would come near her for the fear of punishment which Sher Shah inflicted. The currency reforms of Sher Shah also helped in the growth of commerce and handicrafts. He struck fine coins of gold, silver, and copper of uniform standard in place of the debased coins of mixed metal. His silver rupee was so well executed that it remained a standard coin for centuries after him. His attempt to fix standard weights and measures all over the empire was also helpful for trade and commerce. Sher Shah did not make many changes in the administrative divisions prevailing since the Sultanate period. A number of villages comprised a pargana. A pargana was under the charge of a sheikhdar who looked after law and order and general administration, and the munsif or amil who looked after the collection of land revenue. Accounts were maintained both in Persian and the local languages, Hindavi. Above the pargana was sheikh or sarkar under the charge of sheikhdar-e shakdaran and munsif-e munsifan. It seems that only the designations of the officers were new, since both pargana and sarkar were units of administration in the earlier period also. A number of sarkars were grouped into provinces, but we do not know how much about this pattern of provincial administration in Sher Shah's time. It seems that the provincial governors were all powerful in some areas. In some areas, such as Bengal, real power remained in the hands of tribal chiefs, and the governor exercised only a loose control over them. Sher Shah apparently continued the central machinery of administration which had been developed during the Sultanate period. However, we do not have much information about it. Sher Shah did not favor leaving too much authority in the hands of ministers. He worked exceedingly hard, devoting himself to the affairs of the state from early morning to late at night. He also toured the country constantly to know the condition of the people. But no single individual, however hardworking, could look after all the affairs of a vast country like India. Sher Shah's excessive centralization of authority in his hands was a source of weakness, and its harmful effects became apparent when a masterful sovereign like him ceased to sit on the throne. Thank you everyone for tuning in. In the next part, we'll start with the last paragraph of this page on page number 148, ending with the paragraph of Sher Shah. Stay tuned. On your screen right now, you might be seeing the other playlists that we have created for you and the links to the previous video. Do watch them and let us know your views in the comment section below. Thank you everyone for tuning in. All the best for exams, and do share and subscribe the channel for more videos like this. Thank you.